Imagine a world where humans have never known the concept of a home. In this world, the idea of staying in one place, of having a shelter to return to every night, is completely foreign. People are constantly on the move, wandering across vast landscapes in search of food, water, and safety. Every day presents a new challenge, and every night must be met with resourcefulness and adaptability. Unlike the comfort and security we associate with houses, there is no place to store possessions, no familiar corners filled with memories, and no walls that provide a sense of privacy or protection from the unpredictable elements of nature. The nomadic existence dictates the rhythm of life, and every action, from the way humans sleep to how they socialize, revolves around survival. In this relentless cycle of movement, families do not have a central place to gather or bond. Relationships are fluid, connections are transient, and social groups form and dissolve depending on the availability of resources and the migration patterns of the group. Bonds are formed through necessity rather than permanence. The lack of a stable home alters the very fabric of human society. There are no neighborhoods, no local communities with shared spaces, and certainly no property boundaries. Children grow up learning to adapt to change from an early age, gaining independence and resilience because the familiar security of a home does not exist. They learn to navigate diverse terrains, to find safe sleeping spots, and to be resourceful in unfamiliar environments, developing survival skills that are essential to daily life. Sleeping arrangements are determined entirely by the environment. Nights are spent under the open sky, on soft patches of grass, beneath the canopy of trees, or within the temporary shelter of caves and natural overhangs. Each resting spot is chosen carefully for safety, warmth, and proximity to water or food sources. Humans must constantly assess threats, from wild animals to sudden storms, making alertness and preparedness a continuous requirement. The very notion of comfort is redefined. People become accustomed to sleeping on uneven ground or in damp conditions, and the concept of a cozy bed or a private room is unimaginable. Weather governs human activity more directly than it does today. In a world without homes, the arrival of rain, wind, or cold dictates where people can go, how they travel, and when they must stop.
Storms are not merely inconveniences. They can be life-threatening events that require immediate adaptation. Humans develop acute sensitivity to natural cues, understanding the subtle changes in the sky, the movement of clouds, and the shifts in temperature, all to anticipate and respond to environmental hazards. This constant responsiveness to the weather shapes daily life, influencing migration, food gathering, and social interactions. Even basic daily routines, such as hygiene and personal care, are profoundly affected by the absence of a home. Without private spaces or running water, people rely on natural sources like rivers, lakes, and rainwater for bathing and cleaning. Cleanliness is balanced with practicality, and rituals around personal care are intertwined with survival. Clothing, tools, and bedding become multifunctional, designed for portability, durability, and versatility to meet the needs of a nomadic lifestyle. The ingenuity required to survive in such a world fosters a culture of adaptability, resourcefulness, and respect for the environment, where human creativity is expressed not in building permanent structures, but in mastering the natural world. And if you're enjoying this glimpse into an extraordinary life, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible explorations of alternate human realities. Your support helps us continue imagining worlds beyond the ordinary, where the familiar is turned upside down and the impossible becomes vivid. In a world without homes, the threat of weather dominates daily life, shaping the rhythms and routines of every individual. Storms, heavy rains, scorching sun, and freezing nights are not mere inconveniences. They are constant tests of human resilience and ingenuity. Without a secure structure to provide shelter, humans are forced to anticipate and adapt to nature's whims. A sudden downpour requires immediate improvisation, using leaves, branches, or even the temporary shelter of a shallow cave. Fierce winds might drive people to huddle behind large rocks or dense clusters of trees. Snow or cold spells compel them to layer clothing creatively and seek natural insulation in the landscape. Survival in such an environment is never passive. It demands vigilance, quick thinking, and profound awareness of the surrounding ecosystem.
Social interaction in this nomadic existence is shaped, alayhi salam, much by environmental conditions, alayhi salam, by human choice. Without permanent dwellings or designated gathering places, communication and cooperation become essential for survival. Groups must coordinate movements to ensure safety and access to resources, often relying on subtle cues, gestures, and shared knowledge passed down through experience. Gathering places are temporary, riverbanks, clearings, or natural formations, and each meeting is dictated by necessity rather than habit or tradition. The dynamic nature of social life fosters adaptability and problem-solving skills. Humans develop acute observational skills, learning to read each other's behavior and intentions in order to collaborate effectively while constantly on the move. The absence of a home profoundly impacts the way humans learn and grow. Children are exposed to the unpredictability of the natural world from the very beginning, gaining practical survival skills long before they reach adulthood. They observe adults improvising shelters, locating food and water, and navigating terrain. They learn to respond to the natural rhythm of day and night, understanding the importance of timing in hunting, gathering, and moving with the seasons. Education is experiential and immersive. The lessons are taught by necessity and environment rather than books or classrooms. These formative experiences cultivate independence, resourcefulness, and resilience in the young, shaping them into adults capable of thriving in a constantly changing world. Daily routines are intimately connected with natural cycles. Water, food, and fire become central concerns that dictate movement and behavior. Without kitchens or plumbing, humans rely on rivers, streams, and rainfall for drinking, cooking, and cleaning. They hunt, gather, and forage in response to the immediate availability of resources, rather than following long-term storage or cultivation strategies. Fire serves not only for warmth and cooking, but also, alayhi salam, a social and navigational focal point, a symbol of temporary stability amid continuous movement. These elements, which in modern society are taken for granted within the confines of a home, become central pillars around which nomadic life revolves, influencing patterns of rest, work, and social interaction. Sleep and rest are fundamentally different from what we understand today. Without beds or private rooms, humans adapt to the terrain and climate. Resting spots are chosen for both comfort and safety, often leveraging natural features such as depressions in the earth, overhanging rocks, or dense foliage. Humans learn to sleep lightly, aware of predators and environmental changes, and to find warmth through close physical proximity or shared resources. Comfort is redefined. Survival outweighs leisure, and the ability to rest while remaining alert becomes a critical skill. The nomadic lifestyle ensures that humans remain intimately connected to the land, their bodies and minds attuned to its rhythms and dangers, creating a culture defined by mobility, awareness, and adaptability rather than permanence and security. In such a world, creativity and innovation flourish in unexpected ways. The lack of permanent homes drives humans to invent portable solutions for sleeping, cooking, and carrying essential items. Tools, clothing, and bedding are designed to be multifunctional, durable, and easy to transport. Knowledge about the environment, edible plants, weather patterns, animal behavior becomes invaluable and highly specialized. Humans cultivate an acute sense of observation, noticing subtle changes in the landscape that indicate safety or danger. art, music, and storytelling evolved to accompany the nomadic rhythm of life, focusing on oral transmission, movement, and improvisation. The absence of a home does not hinder human ingenuity, rather it channels it into adaptability, survival, and intimate harmony with the natural world. In a world where humans have never known the concept of a home, the preparation and consumption of food are governed entirely by immediacy and practicality. Without kitchens, pantries, or storage facilities, people rely on what can be gathered, hunted, or fished in the present moment. Meals are simple and efficient, designed to sustain rather than delight, and the necessity of movement dictates that they must be prepared quickly. Cooking techniques are minimal and portable, roasting meat on heated stones, boiling water in makeshift containers, or steaming vegetables over open fires. The very act of preparing food is intertwined with survival skills, reinforcing the nomadic rhythm of life. Humans must constantly evaluate their surroundings to determine safe cooking spots, sources of fuel, and proximity to water.
The simplicity of these meals encourages creativity within strict limitations. Alayhi salam, people learn to make the most of available ingredients, balancing nutrition, flavor, and energy requirements for continued movement and labor. Fire assumes a central role in this nomadic lifestyle, not just for cooking, but alayhi salam, a hub of social and practical activity. Flames provide warmth against cold nights, a means to purify water, and a protective barrier against predators. They also serve alayhi salam communal gathering points where humans exchange knowledge, share stories, and coordinate movements for the days ahead. The care and maintenance of fire are critical skills, often passed down from one generation to the next, symbolizing both survival and social cohesion. The fire becomes the temporary center of a group, offering a fleeting sense of stability and community in an otherwise impermanent world. Storage of food is a rare and difficult challenge, requiring ingenuity and improvisation. Humans may employ natural techniques such as burying items in cool soil, smoking meat over a low fire, or drying fruits and roots under the sun. These methods extend the lifespan of food just enough to survive short periods between foraging, but long-term preservation is nearly impossible. As a result, human diets are heavily influenced by seasonal availability and local ecosystems. People become intimately attuned to the cycles of plants and animals, tracking migrations, harvest times, and ecological patterns. Such detailed ecological knowledge becomes essential, transforming humans into highly observant and adaptive participants within the natural world. Domestication of animals, if it occurs at all, is minimal, and the concept of livestock pens or stables does not exist. Animals are often companions, helpers, or opportunistic sources of food. Nomads may train certain animals for transport or hunting assistance, but these relationships are transient, evolving according to necessity and environment rather than long-term settlement. The absence of permanent enclosures encourages mutual adaptation between humans and animals, fostering ingenuity in mobility and cooperative strategies. Humans and animals alike move through the landscape with shared awareness, responding to environmental cues and shifting dangers. This dynamic interaction emphasizes survival and efficiency over ownership or control.
Finally, the very act of eating becomes a social and practical event rather than a private or leisurely activity. Meals are often communal, shared with the group present at a given time and location, reinforcing social bonds and coordination. Eating on the move is common, with humans balancing nutrition, speed, and vigilance against potential threats. The absence of domestic spaces transforms dining into a functional, dynamic practice where every bite contributes mobility and survival. In this world, humans develop a profound respect for natural resources and a deep understanding of how to use them effectively, shaping a culture that values skill, observation, and adaptability above permanence and comfort. In a world where humans have never known the concept of a home, the skills of hunting, gathering, and foraging are not hobbies or occasional activities. They are fundamental to survival. The absence of permanent shelter means that humans must constantly seek food sources wherever they travel, making adaptability and acute environmental awareness essential. People learn to read the signs of animal movement, the ripening of fruits, the growth cycles of plants, and the subtle cues of weather changes. Hunting is not simply about sport, but about carefully planning routes, tracking prey, and using available natural tools efficiently. Gathering requires knowledge of edible plants, roots, and nuts, as well as awareness of which items are safe to consume and which are poisonous. The skills of survival are taught orally and practically, passed from one generation to the next in a continuous cycle of observation and imitation. The speed and agility of humans become critical traits in a world without homes. Nomads are constantly moving from one location to another in search of resources, following seasonal patterns, water sources, and animal migrations. The concept of being sedentary is foreign. Life is defined by motion and adaptability. This mobility strengthens endurance, spatial awareness, and problem-solving abilities. Humans develop an instinctive understanding of the terrain, learning to recognize landmarks, natural hazards, and optimal pathways. Adaptation extends beyond physical skill. It encompasses emotional resilience and social coordination. Group members must cooperate, share responsibilities, and anticipate each other's needs, since no individual can survive alone for long in this ever-changing environment.
The absence of permanent storage or preservation methods shapes the human diet. People eat what is immediately available and must make the most of fleeting opportunities to consume food. Meals are small and frequent, designed to maintain energy levels during travel and work. Hunting is often selective, taking only what is needed for immediate sustenance, while foraging focuses on seasonal abundance. The unpredictability of supply encourages careful planning, cooperative sharing, and an intimate understanding of the environment. Humans learn to optimize every meal for nutrition, energy, and efficiency. Food culture, if it exists, revolves around necessity rather than tradition or luxury. Culinary skills are honed to maximize portability, cooking speed, and survival value. Humans' relationship with animals is shaped by necessity rather than domestication. Animals encountered in the environment may be hunted for food, used as temporary helpers, or observed for survival knowledge. Certain species may become semi-companions, assisting in carrying loads, locating water, or detecting predators. These relationships are fluid and situational, emphasizing cooperation and mutual benefit rather than ownership. The need to remain mobile limits the ability to maintain livestock or permanent animal shelters. The result is a dynamic coexistence, where humans and animals constantly adapt to each other's movements and behaviors, fostering creativity, observation, and mutual survival strategies. Daily life is dictated by natural cycles and resource availability. Activities such as traveling, hunting, gathering, and resting are synchronized with sunlight, seasonal changes, and weather patterns. Humans develop a deep understanding of the environment, recognizing the optimal times for movement, when to seek shelter, and when to conserve energy. Sleep is brief, cautious, and often shared for warmth and protection. Even leisure and socialization are influenced by survival needs, taking place around fires, water sources, or clearings that provide safety and visibility. In this nomadic existence, humans cultivate flexibility, resourcefulness, and awareness, traits that become central to their culture and identity. Creativity flourishes in subtle, practical ways. Tools, clothing, and temporary shelters are ingeniously designed for portability, efficiency, and multifunctionality.
Humans create art, storytelling, and music that accompany movement and daily tasks, serving to educate, inspire, and maintain morale. Rituals and traditions develop around shared experiences, environmental cues, and survival milestones. The absence of a home does not limit human ingenuity, rather it channels it toward adaptability, efficiency, and intimate engagement with the natural world. Life is a constant negotiation between human capability and environmental challenge, producing a culture that is resilient, innovative, and deeply interconnected with nature. In a world where humans have never known the concept of a home, architecture and permanent construction are virtually non-existent. The human environment is dominated by natural formations, forests, rivers, mountains, and plains, rather than structures built from wood, stone, or clay. Humans interact directly with the landscape, molding it minimally for survival, but leaving it largely untouched. Instead of homes, temporary shelters, simple lean-tos, and natural overhangs serve as resting spaces. These structures are ephemeral, designed to be quickly assembled, disassembled, and moved as the group progresses in search of food, water, and safety. The impermanence of shelters fosters a lifestyle of mobility and flexibility, and human creativity is channeled into improvisation and efficient use of available natural resources, rather than the creation of enduring edifices. Because permanent settlements do not exist, the concept of villages, towns, or cities never emerges. There are no streets lined with houses, no marketplaces, and no long-term communal spaces. Instead, people gather in temporary clearings, riverbanks, or natural amphitheaters, forming transient communities that last only as long as necessary. Social organization is decentralized, based on immediate needs, skills, and cooperation, rather than structured governance or land ownership. Leadership emerges situationally, often determined by knowledge of the environment, hunting skill, or experience. These mobile arrangements cultivate adaptability, mutual dependence, and acute observation, since every member must navigate both social and ecological landscapes simultaneously. The preservation of the natural environment becomes a central concern, whether consciously or instinctively. With no permanent homes to anchor populations, humans avoid large-scale deforestation, excavation, or urbanization.
Agricultural practices, if they exist at all, are small-scale, temporary, and focused on wild plant cultivation or minimal soil enhancement. Humans rely primarily on naturally abundant resources, respecting seasonal cycles and animal migrations. This creates a dynamic equilibrium between humans and their surroundings, a continuous negotiation of impact and adaptation. Unlike settled civilizations, there is little erosion caused by permanent structures, minimal waste accumulation, and no lasting alteration of river paths or forests. Roads, bridges, and other infrastructure are unnecessary and rarely built. Travel follows natural routes, river valleys, ridges, trails worn into grasslands by generations of animals, or simple pathways between resource sites. Humans adapt to obstacles rather than reshape the land. When crossings are required, temporary solutions like log bridges, stone stepping points, or rope-supported pathways are improvised and left behind once no longer needed. This reliance on the natural landscape reinforces observational skills, spatial intelligence, and problem-solving. Humans become highly attuned to subtle changes in terrain, weather, and seasonal patterns, using intuition and experience to navigate efficiently. Even basic utilities such as electricity, plumbing, and heating are absent. Energy comes directly from the environment: sun, fire, and wind. Water is drawn from rivers, streams, or collected rain, while warmth is generated by carefully maintained fires. Humans develop adaptive clothing, bedding, and shelter materials that respond to temperature fluctuations and precipitation. Heating and cooling are achieved through behavioral strategies rather than technology, emphasizing movement, group cooperation, and strategic use of natural resources. Daily life is structured around survival imperatives rather than comfort or convenience, creating a society deeply interconnected with nature. Creativity, resilience, and observational acuity become paramount, shaping a culture where impermanence is a defining principle, and humans thrive not through dominance over the environment, but through subtle harmony and continuous adaptation. In a world where humans have never known the concept of a home, waste and sanitation take on an entirely different significance. Without permanent dwellings, there are no designated areas for disposal, and human refuse is dispersed across the landscape.
People rely on natural processes to handle waste, which decomposes, is carried away by water, or is consumed by scavenging animals. This impermanence requires humans to be acutely aware of hygiene in practical terms. Sanitation is not a matter of modern plumbing or structured systems, but a constant, adaptive interaction with the environment. Humans must choose locations for temporary shelter that balance safety, accessibility to resources, and proximity to natural cleansing agents, such as streams, rivers, and rainwater pools. These practices cultivate deep observational skills and a heightened awareness of environmental health, as human survival depends on avoiding contamination and maintaining access to clean water and edible resources. With no permanent electricity or artificial lighting, human life is intimately linked to natural cycles. The sun and moon dictate work, rest, and travel. Fire is the primary source of light after sunset, and its careful management is essential for both warmth and visibility. Nights are often illuminated by temporary fires, the glow serving as both practical guidance and a social gathering point. This reliance on natural light and fire strengthens human sensitivity to subtle changes in the environment, the phases of the moon, cloud patterns, and the first signs of storms or temperature shifts. Human perception becomes attuned to cues that are often imperceptible to those accustomed to artificial lighting. Navigation, hunting, foraging, and social organization are all synchronized with these natural rhythms, creating a culture deeply embedded in temporal and ecological cycles. Religious or spiritual practices are similarly adapted to life without permanent structures. Rituals, gatherings, and meditative practices occur in open spaces or temporary sites, selected for symbolic or practical reasons. Sacred groves, riverbanks, mountaintops, and caves may serve as ephemeral sites for worship, ceremonies, or reflection. The transient nature of these locations reinforces the idea that spirituality and social cohesion do not require permanence, but arise from shared experience and connection to the environment. Cultural expressions are dynamic, fluid, and deeply intertwined with natural phenomena. Songs, chants, and oral stories are performed around fires or under the open sky, preserving knowledge, values, and heritage without reliance on built structures. In this way, human culture becomes both portable and resilient, intimately linked to mobility and adaptation. Land ownership, property, and private space take on entirely different meanings. In a world without homes, there are no plots of land to claim, no fences to demarcate boundaries, and no streets to define neighborhoods. Resources, such as water sources, foraging grounds, and hunting territories, are shared, monitored, and respected communally, often enforced through social norms rather than legal codes. Ownership is temporary and functional, limited to what can be carried or used immediately. This creates a fluid society in which cooperation, negotiation, and observation are paramount. Human relationships are defined by mutual support, skill contribution, and environmental awareness rather than material possession or permanence. The absence of land-based wealth encourages egalitarian social structures, adaptive decision-making, and reliance on collective knowledge and skill. Even basic technology and tools are shaped by mobility and impermanence. Structures, containers, and implements must be portable, lightweight, and multifunctional. Humans innovate constantly to meet the demands of a life in motion. Utensils, bedding, and clothing are designed for rapid deployment, easy repair, and dual functionality. Storage, if attempted, is temporary and inventive, using natural depressions, lightweight bundles, or carryable materials. Craftsmanship focuses on utility and adaptability rather than aesthetics or long-term preservation.
The impermanent lifestyle fosters creativity, observation, and resilience as humans continually respond to challenges posed by nature. Life is a constant negotiation between the limitations of impermanence and the opportunities offered by the environment. Humans develop profound respect for ecological systems, nuanced understanding of resource management, and extraordinary ingenuity in adapting tools, strategies, and behaviors to thrive without ever knowing a permanent home. In a world where humans have never known the concept of a home, cultural and artistic expressions evolve in ways deeply intertwined with mobility and the natural environment. Without walls to decorate or interior spaces to personalize, humans focus their creativity on mediums that are portable, immediate, and transient.
Art emerges on surfaces found in nature, rocks, bark, soil, and sand, where markings, carvings, and temporary paintings record stories, knowledge, and cultural symbols. These artistic expressions are often functional as well as aesthetic, serving to communicate important survival information, mark territories temporarily, or transmit legends and oral histories. The absence of permanent structures shifts the emphasis from permanence to adaptability, and humans learn to express themselves within the constraints and possibilities of their constantly changing surroundings. Music develops in similar ways, shaped by necessity, mobility, and communal experience. Instruments are often simple, crafted from reeds, wood, or stone, designed to be easily carried and played while traveling. Rhythms and melodies accompany movement, hunting, and social gatherings, integrating music into the fabric of daily life rather than confining it to specific ritual spaces. Singing, chanting, and percussive rhythms become methods of coordination, teaching, and morale building. The sounds of music harmonize with environmental cues, blending human creativity with the ambient world of wind, water, and animal calls. Performance becomes interactive and participatory, a collective experience that strengthens bonds among transient groups and reinforces shared knowledge and culture. Philosophy and social norms are deeply influenced by the impermanent lifestyle. Without homes or fixed settlements, humans develop a worldview that values adaptability, observation, and harmony with natural systems. Concepts of ownership, permanence, and accumulation are minimal. Instead, survival, skill, cooperation, and knowledge become central measures of human value. Wisdom is transmitted orally and experientially, often tied to environmental mastery, social negotiation, and practical problem solving. Lessons in resilience, patience, and resourcefulness are woven into everyday life. This constant engagement with both human and ecological realities fosters reflective thinking, strategic planning, and deep emotional intelligence. Humans learn to anticipate change, assess risk, and collaborate effectively, forming cultural norms that prioritize community well-being, environmental respect, and adaptive innovation. Daily rituals and personal practices are shaped by impermanence and mobility.
Without homes to define private or sacred space, activities such as alai salam, bathing, resting, and meditating occur in natural settings. Streams, lakes, shaded clearings, and sheltered rock formations serve alai salam temporary sites for personal care, reflection, and spiritual engagement. These experiences are integrated with survival routines, blurring the line between practicality and introspection. Humans cultivate awareness of the cycles of day and night, seasonal changes, and weather patterns, alai salam part of a holistic approach to life, where personal, social, and environmental considerations are inseparable. In this context, mindfulness, attentiveness, and adaptability are not abstract ideals, but essential survival skills that shape the rhythm of existence. Storytelling and oral tradition dominate cultural transmission. Without permanent homes to house libraries, schools, or repositories of written knowledge, stories, legends, and instructions are memorized, performed, and passed from generation to generation. These narratives are often enriched with practical knowledge about edible plants, hunting techniques, migration routes, and weather patterns, blending entertainment with survival education. Ritualized storytelling, accompanied by music or gestures, strengthens group cohesion and ensures that essential skills, history, and wisdom are retained despite the transient lifestyle. Culture is inherently dynamic, evolving with each generation. Alayhi humans respond creatively to environmental changes, social interactions, and mobility demands. In this world, the impermanence of human life spaces fosters a culture of innovation, resilience, observation, and profound engagement with the natural world, proving that human ingenuity flourishes even without permanent dwellings. In a world where humans have never known the concept of a home, the search for comfort becomes an ongoing negotiation with nature rather than a matter of constructing permanent spaces. Small pleasures, like finding a flat patch of grass to rest, a sheltered nook under a tree, or a gentle stream to bathe in, acquire extraordinary significance. Humans learn to appreciate temporary security, the warmth of a fire shared among group members, and the fleeting relief of calm weather. These transient comforts shape emotional resilience, teaching humans to find contentment in impermanence and adapt rapidly to changing conditions.
Mental flexibility becomes a survival skill, and the ability to maintain optimism despite uncertainty fosters both individual and communal well-being. In this nomadic existence, joy is not derived from possessions or permanent structures, but from shared experiences, environmental awareness, and the successful navigation of daily challenges. Social bonds are reinforced through mobility and shared survival challenges. Without permanent homes to define boundaries or create isolated family units, humans rely on cooperation and mutual support. Collaboration is essential for hunting, gathering, shelter construction, and protection against predators. The transient nature of relationships encourages strong communication, observation, and empathy. Trust and skill become currency, determining status and influence within the group. The absence of fixed dwellings emphasizes interdependence, creating a culture in which shared knowledge, collective problem-solving, and cooperative behavior are central. Humans develop nuanced social intelligence, capable of reading subtle cues, anticipating the needs of others, and negotiating group dynamics while constantly on the move. Education and skill acquisition are practical, immersive, and ongoing. Children learn through observation and participation in the daily necessities of life, identifying edible plants, tracking animals, improvising shelters, and interpreting environmental signals. Lessons are experiential rather than theoretical, grounded in the immediate context of survival. Memory and observation skills are honed to an extraordinary degree. Elias's missing a single cue can have serious consequences. Storytelling, demonstration, and apprenticeship provide dynamic methods for passing knowledge from one generation to the next. These systems ensure continuity of survival expertise, cultural identity, and social cohesion, even in the absence of formal institutions or fixed spaces. Daily routines are intimately synchronized with environmental rhythms. Activities such as traveling, foraging, hunting, and resting are dictated by weather, season, and daylight. Humans develop sophisticated awareness of natural cycles, including plant growth patterns, animal migrations, temperature fluctuations, and celestial cues. Sleep is short, strategic, and communal, often shared for warmth and safety.
Energy management, hydration, and nutrition are closely monitored and adapted according to immediate needs and environmental conditions. Life without homes necessitates constant planning, observation, and flexibility, making humans highly attuned to their surroundings and capable of swift, adaptive decision-making. Survival is inseparable from environmental knowledge, and human culture reflects this profound connection. Creativity and ingenuity are continually expressed through adaptation. Tools, clothing, temporary shelters, and fire use are optimized for mobility, multifunctionality, and efficiency. Humans invent solutions to meet the unpredictable challenges of a life in motion, using available resources in innovative ways. Art, music, and oral narratives remain central to cultural expression, blending utility with aesthetics. Rituals, games, and storytelling accompany daily routines, reinforcing memory, group identity, and survival knowledge. In a world without homes, humans develop a culture defined by resilience, adaptability, observation, and cooperation, where every action is informed by an intimate understanding of the environment and an unceasing need to harmonize with the natural world. In a world where humans have never known the concept of a home, the study and accumulation of knowledge take forms that differ radically from settled societies. Without permanent buildings, libraries, or storage for written materials, humans rely on oral traditions, visual markers, and experiential learning to preserve and transmit essential information. Lessons about edible plants, animal behavior, weather patterns, migration routes, and tool-making are passed through demonstration, storytelling, and communal participation. Memory becomes a prized skill, and observation is honed to a fine art. Without the ability to record knowledge in fixed spaces, humans cultivate extraordinary attentiveness to their environment and social group, ensuring that critical survival skills are reliably retained and communicated across generations. Knowledge is dynamic, evolving with the immediate needs and movements of the group, and humans learn to innovate in real time based on environmental feedback. Technological development focuses on mobility, efficiency, and multifunctionality. Permanent infrastructure is absent, so tools, utensils, and shelters are designed to be portable and adaptable.
Cooking implements, carrying containers, clothing, and bedding must serve multiple purposes, withstand variable conditions, and be easy to transport. Humans prioritize practical utility over aesthetics or permanence, constantly refining techniques through trial, observation, and shared expertise. Fire, for instance, is managed strategically for warmth, cooking, light, and safety. Tool-making involves improvisation with natural materials as wood, stone, bone, and reeds. The result is a technology intimately tied to survival and movement, constantly evolving to meet environmental and social challenges. Economic systems, if they exist, are based on direct exchange, shared resources, and cooperative allocation. Without fixed dwellings or markets, humans do not accumulate wealth in the form of property or goods stored in homes. Trade, when it occurs, is based on immediate necessity, skill, or access to resources. Bartering, gift-giving, and reciprocal labor maintain group cohesion and allow for the redistribution of essential items. The absence of permanent infrastructure fosters egalitarian social structures, as status is determined more by knowledge, skill, and contribution to the group than by possession of material wealth. Human economies revolve around mutual dependence and adaptability, reflecting the transient and mobile nature of society. Scientific observation and ecological knowledge are central to daily life. Humans constantly monitor the environment, learning the behavior of animals, the growth cycles of plants, and the subtle signs of weather changes. This knowledge informs migration, hunting, foraging, and risk assessment. People become highly skilled at reading tracks, recognizing animal calls, interpreting cloud formations, and predicting resource availability. Ecological literacy is not a luxury, but a necessity, shaping every decision and action. Humans develop a profound awareness of cause and effect, resilience in the face of environmental variability, and the ability to innovate strategies for survival in a world without permanent shelters. Finally, culture and social organization are deeply intertwined with mobility and impermanence. Rituals, festivals, and storytelling occur in open spaces, temporary clearings, or natural amphitheaters.
Art, music, and oral narratives serve both aesthetic and functional purposes, transmitting knowledge, reinforcing social bonds, and enhancing cooperation. Leadership is situational, based on expertise, environmental awareness, or skill, rather than inheritance or property ownership. Communities are fluid, forming and dissolving alayhi salam, resources and circumstances dictate. Humans develop exceptional social intelligence, empathy, and coordination, skills essential for navigating both environmental and interpersonal challenges. Life without homes fosters creativity, adaptability, and resilience, producing a culture in which humans thrive not through permanence, but through intimate engagement with nature, collaborative problem-solving, and continuous learning from their environment. In a world where humans have never known the concept of a home, the final aspects of existence, creativity, innovation, adaptation, and harmony with nature come together to define human culture. Humans develop a profound understanding of survival, social cooperation, and environmental awareness, shaped by the continuous necessity of mobility. Permanent structures, fixed property, and centralized civilization are absent, yet life is rich with meaning, relationships, and accomplishments. Humans cultivate ingenuity in every aspect of life, from the creation of temporary shelters and portable tools to strategies for food acquisition, hygiene, and social cohesion. This ingenuity is constantly tested by environmental variability, unpredictable weather, and the challenge of finding sufficient resources while remaining agile and mobile. Every individual contributes to the collective knowledge and adaptive capability of the group, ensuring survival and reinforcing social bonds. The absence of permanent dwellings transforms the concept of security. Safety is no longer derived from walls or locks, but from vigilance, cooperation, and environmental literacy. Humans become masters of observation, reading subtle signs in the terrain, wind, water, and wildlife. Threats from predators or sudden storms are anticipated and mitigated through careful planning and shared knowledge. Resting places are chosen strategically for comfort, concealment, and proximity to resources, making the selection of a temporary shelter a vital daily decision. Emotional resilience is cultivated through constant adaptation, teaching humans to maintain focus, patience, and optimism despite the inherent uncertainty of nomadic life.
The impermanence of surroundings instills a sense of humility and respect for nature, reinforcing the understanding that survival depends not on domination, but on harmonious engagement with the environment. Social structures and leadership evolve in response to mobility and impermanence. Groups are fluid, forming and dissolving according to the availability of resources and environmental conditions. Leadership emerges situationally, often based on skill, knowledge, or experience, rather than inheritance or wealth. Cooperation, communication, and mutual support are central to survival. Humans develop exceptional social intelligence, capable of interpreting the needs, intentions, and emotions of others. Trust, reciprocity, and shared responsibility define interactions, while conflicts are resolved pragmatically to maintain group cohesion. Culture becomes inherently dynamic, with norms, rituals, and roles constantly adapting to circumstances. Without permanent homes, humans thrive through collaboration, empathy, and collective problem-solving. Education, knowledge transmission, and innovation are inseparable from daily survival. Skills are learned experientially, tracking animals, identifying edible plants, interpreting weather, and improvising portable tools. Knowledge is preserved orally, through demonstration, and through ephemeral artistic expression on natural surfaces. Humans develop exceptional memory, attentiveness, and observational acuity. Innovation is constant, driven by necessity and environmental challenge.
Clothing, bedding, utensils, and shelters are designed for versatility, portability, and efficiency. Art, music, and storytelling serve multiple functions, blending aesthetics with instruction, coordination, and social cohesion. The lack of permanence encourages creativity, improvisation, and ecological intelligence. Humans learn to live fully in the moment while preparing for future uncertainties. Finally, the cumulative effect of life without homes is a profound integration of humans with nature. Every aspect of existence, movement, nutrition, social interaction, tool-making, art, and ritual, is informed by environmental conditions. Humans develop a sophisticated understanding of ecosystems, seasonal cycles, animal behavior, and resource management. Culture is defined not by accumulation or permanence, but by adaptability, observation, and harmonious engagement with the world.
Creativity, resilience, and innovation flourish because survival depends on them. Life without homes produces humans who are highly skilled, socially intelligent, ecologically aware, and capable of thriving in environments that demand constant adaptation. In this reality, permanence is unnecessary, and the human spirit is defined by mobility, ingenuity, and intimate connection with the natural world, demonstrating that civilization need not rely on buildings to be rich, complex, and enduring.